Today we have Noëlla de Bermingham. She is Chief Sustainability Officer at Andera Partners. Noëlla, thank you very much for joining us. And first of all, can you tell us a little bit about Andera Partners? What's your investment strategy?
Andera Partners is a European private equity firm based in Paris, in France, and we invest in startups in life sciences, also in debt, and also in LBO, SMEs, and medium companies in all activities and all sectors.
Wonderful. And today we want to talk about ESG. Now, many people say ESG is dead, or this is the end of ESG. What do you think about this idea?
Well, in a way, yes. I think ESG might be over, but that's actually a good news. Why? It's because I think that investors and the financial industries invented ESG as a concept, and to be sure that we do not forget when we assess an investment to assess the E, the S, and the G. So I think at the beginning it was useful to have this framework, but at the end I think now it's much more a buzzword and quite far from the real economy. And if we look at the companies, they have always talked about corporate social responsibility and sustainability. So I think that concepts are much more closer to the business model of the company. And sometimes ESG is much more on the reporting aspect. And so I think that if ESG as a label is fading, sustainability as a key concept of strategy and business resilience is stronger than ever. So I think that's why I think it's quite a good news, because we are more focused on that. And if we take the example at Andera, we do not use ESG as a scoring system. We are using sustainability as a way to assess the resilience of the company, the way of the company to attract talents, to innovate, and also to be ready in a low carbon economy and in a resource constraints world. So I think that's why if we say that ESG is out of fashion, I would like to say perfect. Let's stop focus on ESG and compliance and be focused on value creation and sustainability.
Yeah, as a ticket exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
Exercise. Yeah. But then when it comes to the LPs, because in the end, everything starts from the investors of the investors. No?
Yeah.
So I think that in general, the fact that ESG gained momentum had to do with LPs asking for this data, right? Mm-hmm. So what are LPs asking for right now?
LPs still asking for data, and so we receive many requests for data. So it's still the case, and we don't see any step back on that. And as I said also, they are expecting some concrete transformation, because we are all talking about how sustainability could transform a business model of a company. And now they're asking, okay, what are you doing with your portfolio company in real, So they are asking some concrete example and some operational transformation. And I think that this is really a good news, because it's no longer only like, okay, you have an ESG approach, an ESG strategy, but now what are you doing concretely? So they are really expecting that. And they're expecting also, when we are talking about maybe impact fund, they are expecting also to have the same level of expectation on positive contribution and also financial return. So I think that today they're expecting that, and maybe during the past years, the impact fund were more focused on positive contribution and less on financial impacts. And now they're expecting the same level. And I think also it's a good news, because impact fund must have also a financial good rating, and they need to prove that. And so today I think the LPs are expecting that as well.
And a few years ago, you wouldn't raise money if you wouldn't say like an impact fund as of your Article 9. And what's happening with that, concept today?
What happening in general?
Yeah, is it important? Like as of your Article 9, Article 8, Article 6, is it still something that investors take into account?
Yes, maybe depending on the geographies, of course, but I think it's still an expectation. I think today the Article 8 is the standard. So I think it's not possible to raise an Article 6 fund. So this is really the minimum asked from the LPs. But the expectations are also rising in terms of what are you doing in your Article 8 fund. So we need to have more ambitious Article 8, not only like I have some ESG characteristic and that's it. So they're expecting a lot. And for the Article 9 fund, I think that today it's quite hard to have a real Article 9 fund, because for me, for an Article 9 fund, you need to have like a real thematic fund with a real robust and ambitious roadmap in terms of positive impact and sustainability. And so today I think it's quite hard, and we have some ambitious Article 9 fund and less ambitious. So today I think the investors are quite lost with the right level of ambitious in terms of Article 9. And as you know, maybe the Europe is working on a new version of the SFDR, and I hope that maybe it will help the investor to have a more clear vision of the ambitious of the different funds.
Wonderful. I think you mentioned some of them, no? But what matters here is like, okay, ESG was built as a risk management tool and ended up being a marketing tool, right? As you said before. So which sustainability factors have become truly, truly key for investors today?
I think the risk aspect of sustainability is still really key. Our portfolio company today are facing some challenges about physical risks in terms of climate change, in terms of biodiversity loss, in terms also of water scarcity. And this is really no longer theoretical aspects, because we have some factories in our portfolio company flooded, we have supply chain disrupted, we have some interest premium increasing a lot. So this is really a financial material issues, not like Nadon or something. This is a material issues. So I think that as investors, if we ignore that kind of criteria and risk, I think it's a huge mistake. It's a risk blindness if you are not taking account that kind of aspects. So I think that for investors, it's really impossible not to integrate that kind of criteria when you assess an investment. And it's not an add-on or something like ticking the box. Yes, we have done the ESG due diligence. No, this is really a way to have a full picture, an overall of all the risk of the company before investing. So I think it's an example, of course, but that's really key also today to invest.
Today we're seeing some fatigue, pause on ESG, and we're going back to sustainability, like the origins of sustainability, basically, right?
Yeah.
And the impact of the sustainability actions in the real economy. What will define the GPs who have successfully went through this ESG phase to real impact? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about your definition of impact, because impact is another word that's hanging, in there by a thread.
For me, impact is a way to invest in companies that bring solution and will have a positive contribution. And the fact that we invest in that company, it will increase their positive contribution. So we need to finance some positive contribution and some solutions. It's mandatory for our economy to finance that kind of solution. And it's also very important also to finance the transformation of all our industries that are not ready to low carbon economy, for example, or to resource constraints economy. So we need to finance and to be straight on that and to be sure that we finance positive contribution and transformation.
Wonderful. What will define the GPs who have successfully navigated this? Are those that find...
No, I can maybe add a compliment on that. I think that GP will succeed, will be the one who keep on track on sustainability. And not because it's fashionable. It's because it's smart business. So we talk about value protection, value creation linked to sustainability. And so maybe the GPs will step back on sustainability because we are in that kind of context. They will lose time, data, and credibility. And the one will keep the road on sustainability. They will, even if it's quietly, because sometimes you need to do maybe more quietly, they will keep improving, they will keep learning, and they will also build a strong relationship with the portfolio company and with the LPs. So I think it's really a matter of clarity and also conviction. So I think it's quite clear today that we need to keep the track on sustainability.
And now, actually, and I love what you're saying, because at this point, we're just starting to make sense of all the data that we have been gathering the last years. Many private equity and many funds have been doing their first sustainability reports in 2020, 21, 22, and they were just dropping data with no sense,
Yeah.
But in the end, we can go back. You have that data. You can actually see if you're evolving, if you're improving, right? So we really have to be I mean, we can't go back. That's a bit like my...
Yeah, and we must use that kind of data because we are all gathering like 100 KPI for, like for example, at Andera for 130 company, 100 KPI for each company. And so we collect that. And I think that many investors today collect that data and just bring it to the LPs and answer to all the questionnaire. But at the end, this data is gold, because you have a big picture of all the performance, maybe outside the financial performance, but the extra financial performance of a company. You have some key info of the social climate of the company, the environmental action of the company, the cost of energy, for example. So you have so many interesting information, and today we are not using it. So I think now that's why I say that we need to go further on ESG compliance reporting. But now we need to use that as a real insight. Yes, as a real insight and as a real performance for the portfolio company.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.